what's happening across the Commonwealth of Virginia is just like in 2021. Virginians are coming together. And it's not just Republicans. It's independents. It's Democrats. We've determined that we are going to finish the work we started in 2021. We've delivered results, 230,000 more Virginians working. We've stood up for parents and put them back in charge of their kids' lives.
Parents in charge of their kids' lives? That would ruin everything. What would Vladimir Lenin say about that? I think Lenin would be against that, don't you think? You know, Lenin said, give me a child for 10 years and I'll give you a Bolshevik for life. That's what Bernie Sanders and the Democrats are doing. Well, happy Tuesday and happy Election Day to you if you're in the Commonwealth of Virginia, if you're in Ohio, if you're in a variety of other states across the United States of America. The Democrat Party is the party of carjacking and, abortion and transgenderism and Hamas. Let's not forget Hamas. The Democrat Party is now officially the party of Hamas. Has Joe Biden come out and full-throatedly supported Hamas on the record yet, or are we still waiting for that? That was Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, who is on the side of parents, on the side of taxpayers, on the side of rational people. I love and the Republicans are just so terrible at messaging everywhere you look. It's, the abortion thing it's on the ballot. The Democrats want it because women will always vote for more abortion and we'll win if we can get the women vote. And they're losing their total lock, at least, on the African-American vote. And they're in a panic about that. So they might have to, go back to the sheets or something. You know how they are with all of that. But today is Election Day in Virginia, and it's true that the Republicans are there for sanity and for parents' rights and for education rather than indoctrination and for lower taxes and for keeping all of your rights intact. The left, on the other hand, is coming for your rights. The left is coming for your rights. We have at the Chris Plant Store, now that I say that out loud again, we do have shirts and coffee mugs and things that say the left is coming for your rights. Always a good gift for family and friends who are crazy lefties. When did you guys become pro-Hamas? But let's get back to Governor Glenn Youngkin, because Election Day in Virginia, and he was Glenn Youngkin on the Fox News channel today, coming live from the Jukebox Diner in Manassas, Virginia. And it looked like a really cool diner, I got to say. I haven't been to the Jukebox Diner. It's a little far away from me, but it looked really cool. In any case, Glenn Youngkin was there with the Fox News people, and he's talking about, hey, why don't you be on the side of sanity, rational thought, adults, two genders, biology, science, actual history, not fake history. And Glenn Youngkin this morning.
I think we see a real chance to get Virginia into overdrive in a state that was lost just 24 months ago. Truly all blue has taken a right turn, and we have to finish the work today by holding our house and flipping the Senate.
And the Democrats are just here to destroy everything. Now, they won't tell you they're here to destroy everything, but the truth is, and what happened to science and rational thought and biology and history? They've erased it all like the Taliban, and they're going around tearing down all the statues and the taking down the portraits, and they're all of Democrats because they're all racists, and they're taking down all the evidence. They're erasing their own history and rebranding themselves as not the party of the KKK, not the party of Jim Crow. They are the party of the KKK. They are party of Jim Crow. They're the party of Jefferson Davis and the Confederate States of America. And they like to erase all of that from history and then somehow blame Republicans and the party of Lincoln. Where's Hiram Revels when you need him? They still need to rename the Russell Senate office building, named for a segregationist, racist Democrat senator from Georgia, Richard Russell. Rename it the Hiram Revels Senate office building. If the Republicans knew how to, pick a fight and win it, which they don't, if the Republicans knew how to brand anything, which they don't, if they knew how to define anything and how to fight a political fight, which they don't, the low price of $10 or $20 million, I could help them out over the course of the next year. Glenn Youngkin.
Common sense, conservative governance wins, it delivers, and people like it because it's common sense. And when we stand up and put parents at the head of the table and say that children belong to parents, not to the state, people say, well, of course they do.
Common sense. I remember common sense. And one of our sayings here is common sense isn't. Right? Common sense isn't. Friendly fire isn't. Common sense isn't. Common courtesy isn't. And the Democratic Party isn't. There are more. Governor Youngkin's success.
The biggest issue across the Commonwealth of Virginia, I hear it every day. We've had 100 campaign stops. I hear it every day, is inflation and jobs and concerns about what Biden is doing to our economy. And Virginians are stretched. They're living paycheck to paycheck. That's why our $5 billion of tax relief has been so important. In fact, tax refund checks have gone out because it's their money, not government's money.
Their money? Well, you start thinking that the taxpayers' money belongs to the taxpayers? That would ruin the whole radical left-wing, pro-Hamas, Democrat organ harvesting, KKK program. Glenn Youngkin.
To many voters, the topic of abortion is so important. And so we've been completely straightforward and clear. I will back a bill to protect life at 15 weeks. We will make sure that people understand that's when a baby feels pain. And that's where we can come together as Virginians with full exceptions in the case of rape and incest and when a mother's life is at risk. The other side wants to extend abortion all the way up through and including birth. And we all remember the former governor who said they'll keep a child comfortable until we decide whether they live or die. This is a choice between no limits and reasonable limits.
Now, they always lie to you and say, oh, nobody, because they watch MSNBC and they think they're getting their news. Nobody is pushing for abortion up until the moment of birth. No, that's a lie, or maybe out of ignorance, but it's a false statement. There are a great many Democrats, including many elected officials in senior positions, that are pushing for that entirely. Now, 15 weeks, this is beyond the point where a baby can feel pain. Forget about heartbeat, which was ages ago, fingernails, like the movie Juno, all that stuff. And by the way, in France, which Democrats admire much more than the United States, even if they've never been there, the limit is 14 weeks. But if I were Republican, I wouldn't allow them to use the word ban. It's not a 15-week ban. It is a limit of 15 weeks, which is more death-oriented than they have in France. And all over Europe, there are restrictions that are more limited than 15 weeks. But don't let the facts get in the way of a good Democrat Party story. They really don't care. Glenn Youngkin.
I like people. Yes. And one of the things that I have enjoyed so much is meeting as many of the 8.7 million bosses that I have in Virginia as I possibly can, because everybody tells me about their concerns. And that's why I think we do a better job, is because we listen.
How about that? Listen. Well, that could get in the way of the whole thing, too. You don't want politicians listening to taxpayers and voters. That could be problematic. Glenn Youngkin.
We've delivered, and we ask you to extend our license to lead, help us hold our House, flip our Senate, and send me a team that'll work with me in Richmond, not against me, and we will bring Virginia to new heights.
Crazy, man, crazy. Now, with Glenn Youngkin, and he's a good common sense governor, and he's on the side of sanity and rational thought and of America, and common sense and science and biology. And we know that the Democrats love abortion so much. How much do they love it? Well, they'd burn the city down. That's how much they love it. Of course, they burn the city down for a lot of different things. They burn cities down all over the country for a guy named George Floyd, who died of a cardiac event while being arrested for yet another felony because of all the fentanyl in his system and the methamphetamine. Never mind the THC, that might have leveled him off a little, but pay no attention to that. And I tell you, I always like to use France as an example. Well, with a liberal, would you would you say it was okay to go with the same abortion laws that they have in France, which you admire, even though you don't admire the United States? Or Republicans, those terrible Republicans? In Portugal, there is a 10-week limit on abortion. There are countries all over Europe, Spain and France and all over the place, the limits are 12 weeks, 13 weeks, 14 weeks in Europe, which the Democrats admire, while disdaining us. They don't like us very much at all because, well, they're anti-American. The Democrat Party has become an anti-American party. I grew up in a Democrat household. This is not what that household was. Now, let me go to this very important element, because there is a young man who is a nice, well-spoken, clean-cut, normal person who decided to go work as at the polls in Virginia, right? And Matthew Hurt is his name. Matthew Hurt is wonderful. He works with the Leadership Institute, the Leadership Institute, honestly, is just great. They couldn't be more wonderful. They run Campus Reform, wonderful website, Campus Reform, exposing the lunacy on college campuses and have for a long time. Well, Matthew Hurt went out to the polling places, to a polling place in Arlington, Virginia today. And he's a clean-cut, professional young man, well-spoken, and he has a little bit of, bits of paper to hand voters when they come up. And you'll hear him invite someone coming to the polling place to vote. He wants to offer him a card, a Republican sample ballot, in case the person is a Republican voter. But while standing there, Matthew Hurt, again, clean-cut, polite, well-spoken young man, is minding his own business when a typical Democrat who is apparently mentally ill decided to confront Matthew Hurt at the Arlington polling place. And we had to beep the heck out of it because he used the F word again. Now, this is a 45-year-old man, white man, doughy, little overweight, doesn't look like he does anything physical for a living. And he's arrogant and ignorant and doesn't know anything about history, and he proves it all in just a moment or two. And so here it is, and the guy's wearing khaki shorts and and kind of loafers and a blue T-shirt. And it looks like maybe he walked to the polling place, perhaps. But and we're going to repost this. And I don't know, maybe somebody out there knows who this guy is. But I want you to listen to Matthew Hurt, Leadership Institute, at an Arlington, Virginia polling place. And this is really a typical Democrat. And again, young man, Matthew Hurt, not cursing at anybody, not doing anything wrong at all. He's being a perfectly normal, upright American. And this fascist, this doughy, kind of fat white boy who's 45 years old and in his khaki shorts going to vote on Election Day is so filled with rage that he couldn't let this nice young man just hand out sample ballots at the polling place. Here it is. We'll just call him typical Democrat.
People tried to overthrow the election. You might as well have been walking up to my head on the way to the polling station, putting a gun to my head, and trying to tell me not to vote. You expect me to not take that personally? You try to overthrow elections with violence, and then you're out here among decent people.
Thanks for coming out.
What do you have to say that, huh? And what's on your
thanks for coming out.
What are your policy prescriptions?
Have a nice day.
Rapist rights?
Yeah.
Involving yourself in people's families.
You're a racist. You kill 40% of the black babies in the country. Klansmen. Wait, it gets better.
You try to steal my vote next year?
Next year.
I'm going to remember you personally.
That's Hillary Clinton.
In fact, I'm taking a picture of you.
Now he's pulling out his camera to take a picture of you.
Is that all right?
Yeah, you
Permission?
can. Yeah. It's a one-party state.
Sure, Hitler.
Yeah, one-party state. You want to one-party country.
What a moron.
Hey, sir, how are you?
Wait, pause that a second. He said it's a one-party consent state, which means that you can record someone without their consent. But the ignorant, doughy white boy getting racially riled up here, is like, and he's, I'm going to take out my camera. I'm going to get a picture of you. And here's this nice young man handing out, and here you can hear. Can you take that back like 3 seconds? And because here's just a nice normal person at a polling place, Matthew Hurt, and another person comes up, and here's how Matthew is presenting himself as opposed to this typical liberal who's probably a lawyer.
In fact, I'm taking a picture. Is that all right?
Yeah, you
Permission?
can. Yeah. It's a one-party consent state.
One-party state. You want a one-party country is what you want.
Hey, sir, how are you?
What a
Headed
moron.
in to vote? Yeah. Could I get a Republican sample ballot? Sure, thank you.
See, that's how Matthew Hurt is behaving.
Buddy with these people because they put on the face of a good neighbor, but they support lynch mobs.
They support lynch mobs. What a moron.
Bigots and freaks.
Bigots and freaks. You're the party that gave us the Klan. Now, he's an ignorant SOB, that's for sure. His awareness of history is extremely limited. Probably went to Harvard Law School. That's a Democrat. We posted it on X, and we'll put it on Facebook. And where else are we going to put it? Everywhere. It's going to be everywhere. Of this typical Democrat, I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know if he went to Harvard, but he looks like a guy who went to Harvard. He couldn't throw a baseball without, hitting the arch of his foot with the ball. But and he's out there threatening this nice young man, clean cut, respectful, adult. Hi, sir. Could I give you a sample Republican ballot? And this is your Democrat Party today. I keep waiting for them to fire on Fort Sumter again. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Well, I have, it's the beauty of live radio, of talk radio. Matthew Hurt, the young man at the polling position who is with the Leadership Institute. He also, by the way, is the chairman of the Republican Party in Arlington, Virginia. And I'm happy to say that he's called in to our humble radio broadcast and is standing by on the line. And I want to let Matthew tell his story of, what it's like to meet Democrats in Arlington, Virginia. He's going to remember you personally. That's just a run-of-the-mill Democrat who obviously has a lot of issues, a lot of very serious issues. This is maybe someone who shouldn't be loose on the streets of Arlington. He seems unstable. Probably needs some kind of psychotropic therapy. Maybe psychedelic therapy. You see the story in the Washington Post yesterday, this lady, a doctor, Dr. Willow, she's a psychiatrist. She's giving her patients magic mushrooms and MDMA, ecstasy, as part of their therapy, hallucinogenic drugs. You know why, Michael? Because so many of them are really upset about the climate, about climate change. This is true. This is a real Washington Post story. Dr. Willow is giving magic mushrooms, psilocybin, and MDMA, as it's known, also ecstasy, to her patients because they're so traumatized by climate change. This is your Democrat Party. This guy might be one of them. Maybe he's traumatized by climate change. But as promised, on the line is the man that made this video, Matthew Hurt. Matthew, thank you very much for calling in. And Matthew is the chairman of the Republican Party in Arlington, Virginia. And Matthew, I guess you were just out at a polling place in Arlington this morning, being polite as can be, and handing out sample ballots when a run-of-the-mill, doughy Democrat, I think he was driving the Prius, Matthew. Did he drive away in that Prius?
You know, Chris, it is great to be with you, and thank you for the opportunity. He walked toward the Prius, but at that time, I turned back around to greet other voters. You know, in Arlington, Republicans have nowhere to go but up. 20% of voters in Arlington vote Republican. I'm the chairman of the Republican committee, and I'm ecstatic about the opportunity to take our message to voters, even the angry ones who get upset when we're out there. And they really are upset because we have a great candidate for county board in Juan Carlos Fierro, who's running against all the failed progressive policies in Arlington. And Democrat voters are listening to him and they're considering him. So I'm honored for the opportunity to speak to you. And it was, you know, such a great experience to be out there to confront these angry progressives as we're seeing across Arlington.
Now, you were just, how long were you out there? And you can say where the polling place was or not, but it's in Arlington. We know that much, right? And you were out there and you spent your morning out there, and you're standing there politely offering people sample ballots. And I noticed at the end you offered a man a sample ballot, and he said no, thank you, or something, right? And then he started talking to this mental case.
So I was actually, that was my fourth polling location. That's Dawson Terrace in extreme northeast Arlington, right along the river. And most of the Democratic poll greeters that I've spent time with this morning, absolutely nice. Had pleasant conversations with them. Most of the voters were pleasant. In fact, most voters took both the Republican and the Democrat sample ballot. This is the only time in my 13 years organizing in Arlington that I've had such a contentious exchange with a gentleman. And yeah, it was absolutely insane. In fact, the poll greeter, the Democrat poll greeter who was there, who's also in the video, he was super polite beforehand and basically apologized for his unhinged friend. But yeah, this is what we're up against in a community where 80% of my neighbors, both living and dead, voted for Joe Biden in 2020. But I'm excited to be the chairman because of opportunities like this to talk about our Republican principles with most of the voters who are somewhat reasonable from time to time.
And you also work with the Leadership Institute.
I am honored, Chris, to work at Leadership Institute. I've been affiliated with them since about 2007. My political mentor is Morton Blackwell, the founder and president. I do a lot of activity at the national level with him through the Republican National Committee. Obviously, this is a day off for me to engage in political activity, but I help people at Leadership Institute hone their conservative activism. And I think that's why I was prepared for this video. You know, on the way in, the guy unloaded on me, and I knew that he was going to go in and vote, and it was going to be the same situation coming back outside. So with my Leadership Institute training, I turned on the camera, popped it in my breast pocket in the button-up shirt that I'm wearing, and I just made sure that I was oriented toward him. And then toward the end, you saw he asked if he could take a photo of me. Well, Virginia is a one-party consent law state, and so I had already been filming him for the entirety of this exchange. And I gave him permission to take a photo of me because I knew that my friends would love the video that I was going to share of him, and wanted him to have a great rest of the day.
That is great. That's wonderful. And you did a great job. You did a good thing. This guy. Now you're saying that he was accosting you before he went in, also?
He started out of the gate as he walked up to the location, immediately started calling me names, the same kind of stuff that you played in the video. And then I turned to the Democrat poll greeter who, sort of shrugged and apologized. But I knew what was happening. And I knew with my Leadership Institute training that I should get the second interaction on camera. And so I did get it on camera. And when he asked permission to take a photo of me, I knew that it gave me permission to post this video. And that's the kind of thing that we teach at Leadership Institute, is how to be an effective conservative activist. And it's really exciting. And Chris, I know, you're pressed for time here, but all of your listeners in Arlington can join us tonight at Arlington Rooftop, where we've got an election night party. I'll be there unless I get beaten up at a polling location, and then I'll try to get out of the hospital. But starting at 6 p.m., an hour before the polls close, we'll be at Arlington Rooftop celebrating what I hope are big wins across Virginia.
Election night 2020, we were at that same location at the Arlington Rooftop and had a great night there. There was after closing time that, sadly, that it was declared. Excuse me, not 2020. I said 2020. 2016. 2016 was the night we were at the Arlington Rooftop, and it was a great night. Although, the results came in a little late that night. So how do you think? Go ahead, Matthew.
We love that venue. And it's Republican-owned. The management is Republican, one of the few Republican businesses in Arlington. I would just say, for your listeners, if you go vote today, and you should vote if you didn't vote early, and there's not a Republican poll greeter outside your polling location, send me an email at info@arlingtongop.org and volunteer an hour or two of your time. I stepped away from the polling locations to reassemble and to get some sample ballots out to volunteers. But if you don't see a Republican poll greeter, I encourage you to reach out to us and volunteer an hour or two of your time. We have a tremendous opportunity in Arlington in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years to actually elect a Republican down ballot. And that's what I'm committed to as the chairman of the Arlington County Republican Party.
It is amazing. Well, listen, we, as I think you noticed, Matthew, we retweeted your video of this lunatic Democrat, and maybe somebody will recognize I assume he went to Harvard. He had to go to Harvard. The way that he speaks he was so eloquent. And I loved the one-party consent state. And, oh, yeah, you want a one-party state. And it's like, well, maybe he's not a Harvard lawyer because, one-party consent means, of course, that you're at liberty to record people without their permission in that state. And that is it was a great moment. And listen, Matthew, you're doing great stuff, and I thank you very much. And I know Morton Blackwell at Leadership Institute, great organization, great people. Campus reform couldn't be better. Matthew, you're obviously great, and I thank you for everything. And I'll look forward to buying you a cold beer one of these days soon.
Well, Chris, it's a tremendous honor, and it truly is an honor to work with somebody like Morton Blackwell and to learn from him as a conservative activist. And I just appreciate what you're doing and what your network does, getting the message out here in deep blue Northern Virginia and across the DMV. You
bet. Thank you, Matthew Hurt, Arlington County Republican Party, and the Leadership Institute, as you heard, also, and that's great stuff. All right. Well, listen, it is a big deal. All of it is a big deal, and with that, and we've got a lot of other stuff to get to also. But let's go to our friend Angela calling from Montclair, Virginia. Angela, you're on the Chris Plant Show. Hey there, how are you?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, great. I'm out here at the polls in Prince William County in the Potomac District. Now, my husband is running for school board. And I tell you, now, I heard some of the people say that some of the Democrats are being nice. They're hateful out here. They're just so mean-spirited, and they're angry because my husband is actually running against one of the incumbents on the school board that put in policies. They're not listening to the parents, they're not listening to the students or the teachers. They're mostly, I guess you could say, focused on the LGBTQ lobbyists. And my husband is running to restore academic excellence. He's running to restore traditional values, to make sure that the boys are in the boys' sports, the girls are in the girls' sports, that type of thing. So I'm out here, and it's been pretty steady. I just hate that it got so heated out here that the election officials had to come out. And, because you know me, I can get feisty.
Yeah. And your husband, again, is Mario Beckles.
I'm sorry, Mario Beckles. He's running for the Potomac District School Board. Christian man, 32 years in the Army, retired lieutenant colonel. We have daughters that that graduated from the public school. We also have a daughter that's, and the reason why I'm mentioning this because we're for academic excellence. Our daughter won the Fulbright scholarship. She's over in the Czech Republic now teaching English.
Wow.
And so we want that same type of educational excellence that we practice in our own home for the Potomac District School Board. So we're hoping that people will come out and support. And please, if you're in the Potomac District, if you're in Prince William County, just go out and vote. We really do need a change. There's a lot going on in Prince William County as far as because we're electing our local government, and we cannot stand 4 more years in the direction that we're going. The crime is off the chain. Taxes are high for car taxes, for property taxes. There's a lot going on, and we really need people to come out and vote.
That is a fact, Jack. Now, now you're in the Potomac District. The Potomac District.
Yes.
And if you live in that district, you know where it is. And school board, Mario Beckles. Get Mario Beckles, retired lieutenant colonel, United States Army, 32 years on. Sane person, rational family, wonderful wife who I've met. And God bless you. And Mario Beckles as well. And please, everybody get out and vote and just, save the world. Cast your vote, not for this lunatic in Arlington, Virginia, who is a perfectly typical Democrat. Now you're saying it got so heated. What do you mean? What do you mean it got heated at the polling place in the Potomac District because Democrats were getting all loud and I assume cursing and because that's normal, right? And being menacing and threatening.
Yeah.
Were there mobs or individuals? What was happening there?
Well, I'm one person out here doing the sample ballots for the Republicans, and with my husband being on the school board, which is a nonpartisan seat, and they're just yelling and screaming. You're not telling the voters the truth, and I think it's because this incumbent never had a challenger, and they're kind of worried about it because of my husband's. He's ran a good campaign, and they're scared, I guess. And this one guy, he called himself a pastor, but they were just so hateful. It got so heated that the election officials had to come out and say, okay, stay to your sides and everything. I'm like, this guy's just yelling and screaming, and I'm not even understanding why he's so upset. And so thank you, ma'am. Well, for my husband, Mario Beckles, thank you very much. And so I'm still out here passing out ballots. They're not nice at all. In fact, we were getting along very well until some loudmouth guy shows up. If they do not want to be nice, they don't want to be cordial. And I think that we all can be cordial if we would just try. But I don't see that. I see a lot of the meanness as far as the Democrats are concerned. I've seen that a lot, and it's so unfortunate because. Nikki Baldwin running for state senate, her campaign platform is unity because we really do need to not be so divided as a country. I think we agree more than we disagree, but I think the Democrats don't tell the truth about what it is, what their platforms are, and they just want people to vote straight D, not even knowing what they're voting for. Yeah. And I think, we just need to get out and vote and change the direction, turn this ship around so that we can keep our nice community here in the Potomac District. And that's what we're out here campaigning for and praying for and hoping for. And Chris, thank you so much for allowing me to say all of this on air. I appreciate it.
You bet. Angela, thank you. Thank you so much for calling in, and your husband, Mario Beckles. Let's win. Now, we know Angela. Angela and I have been talking since I first started doing radio many years ago. I think on the Sunday show, certainly the nighttime show when I was doing 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I know Angela, and I've met Angela many times at events and things, and just wonderful, just like she sounds here, like a normal person, So. Angela, God bless, and you and Mario and your daughter.
Thank you so much, Chris.
In the Czech Republic.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye. See you in a while. I also want to say I'm running out the clock here, but a friend of mine, Tony Sabio, running for a school board in the Providence District, and vote for Tony Sabio, S-A-B-I-O, Tony Sabio. A great American. We met recently at a Patriots gala. Tony Sabio is former U.S. Navy. He was Secret Service, and he was CIA, but he's one of the good guys from the CIA, out there doing the good stuff. He didn't sign on to that letter. Tony Sabio running for a school board in the Providence District. So you see Tony Sabio's name, you got to vote for him too. Yeah. And Mario, don't forget about Mario. Vote for sanity, not for Democrats. We've got a lot of, you may have noticed it's election day, we've got a lot of Middle East to get to in the Democrats, and we've got a senator named John Fetterman. He's like a Frankenstein impersonator. Have you seen him? And he was shouted down and heckled by a Democrat, a pro-jihad, anti-Semite Democrat, of which there are so many. And I want to share that with you. And Jim Jordan, Congressman Jim Jordan, bombshell report on the censorship industrial complex. And this is the Democrat Party and the Department of Homeland Security and other government agencies working with the information oligarchs, in particular in social media, to crush conservative messages and promote left-wing messages, like gender dysphoria for kindergarten and all of that good stuff. So I've got lots of good things for you still to come in our third hour coming up. But this censorship thing, the government, it is fascism, if you'll accept Benito Mussolini's definition of fascism, and the Democrat Party and their permanent bureaucrats in the federal government crushing free speech like the extremists and the fascists that they are. Also, U.S. Capitol Police officers confiscate guns and capture criminals on Capitol Hill. This is, kind of an everyday in Washington, D.C. sort of story. But the U.S. Capitol Police put a release out on it. The Washington Post didn't cover it because they're not in the news business at all. But it's kind of fascinating, I think, because two armed criminals are off the street after U.S. Capitol Police officers apprehended them. What were they doing, Michael? Well, they were on Capitol Hill, and they were driving in their, was it a stolen car that they were driving? The two criminals off the street, U.S. Capitol Police captured them, confiscated their handguns, one of which had what they called a giggle switch, which made the Glock pistol fully automatic. And the two men, they're Democrats. They're captured Sunday, late Saturday night at 2:15 a.m. When police noticed them driving by Union Station, police went to pull them over because they looked like they were hammered. And they took off trying to flee the police and crashed into a pop-up barrier. They crashed into a U.S. Capitol Police barricade. And they pulled them out. They arrested them, 2 Glock pistols with oversized magazines. And all police can say about them is that they definitely vote for Democrats.